Okay, good morning. I am going to count you in for breathing. Friendly reminder that breathing is designed to regulate the emotions and give notifications to the remainder brain regions that you are getting ready to use them today. I will count you down in descending order from three, two, one. And at that time, you will inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. Three, two, one. I'm coming back in frame. Hey. Good morning. I am Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout today. Today's topic is the 41st principle of real leadership, and it is be prepared. Be prepared. And I'm sure you've heard this before, the 7 P's. Prior planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance. So be prepared. The Dr. Donna quote to introduce us to today's lesson is, dare to prepare. It will take you everywhere. I am living proof of that. When I am prepared, I find myself in situations like, wow, yeah, this is it. This is where I belong. Never thought I'd be here. Absolutely, I did think that I would be there. That's why I prepared. As always, your brain is 75% water, so you will need some liquid gold, some Vasa, some agua, some H2O, because you will be using your amazing brain today. You're going to be getting a great workout, I believe, and we're going to have some fun as well when we get to today's brain bit. Number one, what are the brain regions used for the principle of real leadership? Be prepared. I'm glad you asked, Dr. Donna. Here they are. Number one is the prefrontal cortex, and the function is executive planning, decision making, and foresight. And why? Because being prepared requires anticipating future events. That means you are saying, in case this happens, I need to be prepared. When I was in high school and I used to have to catch the city bus through all types of inclement weather, I needed to have an umbrella, I needed to have a coat and gloves and heaters for my gloves because it would be so cold. So I needed to be prepared for that 3-block walk and that 59-minute one-way trip on the Grand River bus. Be prepared. And so it also has to deal with organizing your resources and mentally stimulating different scenarios. The prefrontal cortex, especially the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, is responsible for working memory, task switching, and cognitive control, which are all located in the executive function of your amazing brain. Next is the anterior cingulate cortex, or commonly referred to as the ACC. And this function is error detection, conflict monitoring, and attention regulation. Why? Because the ACC helps detect when plans might fail or when new information suggests a change is needed. It's vital for staying alert and adjusting strategies under pressure. And that's where the cognitive flexibility comes into play, because you could be prepared and then something out of your control shows up. My daughter assembles furniture and everything could be going great. And yesterday is a perfect example. She gets to the last piece to put it on the dresser, the top to the dresser, and there are holes that are missing from a screw perspective in order to ensure that the top is completely secure. So that is not something that she planned for. Planned to put it together. Everything was going, well, it was actually complicated because the instructions were not clear even for her. However, she got all the way to the end and there was this manufacturing defect. And so the ACC allows you to adjust and make sure that under pressure situation, the person needed the dresser, that the task can still be completed. Next is the hippocampus. And the function of the hippocampus is it is memory formation, retrieval of past experiences. And we know that we've done alive, and it is the memory library. That is what the hippocampus is for. So, to prepare well, leaders must assess past lessons and apply them to present or future situations. The hippocampus supports the retrieval of relevant experiences and context. When my daughter first started in business, we used to conduct after action reviews. This is a process that I learned in the military. And so you review what was supposed to take place, what actually took place, and what you can improve. And because I have such a diverse background, I was able to draw from my hippocampus to say, okay, here's how we're going to prepare for the appointment based upon this. When I was in the military, whatever training site we went to, we had to clean it up and put it right back at the standard that it was when we arrived. And so when we arrive at appointments and after we've done everything, when we leave, it most of the time better. Good morning, Lola. It's better than it was when we first arrived. And that is because I'm drawing from past experiences in my hippocampus at 5-star second mile service expert levels. And then I'm able to transfer those skills to her currently in 2025. And these were things that were taking place in the 90s. Next is the insular cortex. We refer to it as the insula, and its function is introception, self awareness, and risk assessment. And so, why? The insula monitors the body's internal state, for example, anxiety or calmness, and it helps a leader stay self aware. Now, this awareness supports preparation under pressure and detecting readiness signals in the body and mind. I'm a former military police officer, and so we did a lot of training because you have to be ready. You never know, I'm going to leave that. You never know when you're going to need to go and take your training and put it into action. And so that people on the streets have a saying, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And so that's part of being prepared. And the insula will alert you to the need to either be calm because the situation doesn't call for that, or being aware, like, okay, it's time to go make some stuff happen. All right, next is the basal ganglia, and the function is habit formation, routine execution, and pattern recognition. So, preparation is often about building strong, repeatable habits, checklists, reviews, routines. Same standard. How you do anything is how you do everything. So, you practice until perfect practice makes practice perfect. I think that's how you say that. The basal ganglia helps automate those so readiness becomes a natural state, not just a reaction. I saluted so many times when I was in the military, I could do it in my sleep. There are just things that happen that are part of my routine. I wake up every day, I make up my bed. It's an automatic habit. Sometimes I make it up realizing I got to wash my sheets. So I'm like, damn it, I made up my bed. I can take everything back off so I can wash my sheets. But the basal ganglia makes everything part of the habit. That's why when you're starting something, it takes 21 days to form that habit. Once it's in the basal ganglia, whether it's good or bad habit, it's there. And you have to prune the neural pathway in order for it to change the habit. That's why it's so hard to change it, because it's cemented in there. Now, next is the amygdala, and this is for you to have a regulated amygdala. If you have a dysregulated amygdala, you are not going to have preparedness. You are going to be hijacked. Cortisol is going to get released. It's going to the prefrontal cortex. You're going to have brain fog, and you will not be prepared. But in this instance, when you are prepared, a regulated amygdala, and the amygdala's function is threat detection and emotional memory. And a regulated amygdala helps assess risk without overreacting. It ensures emotional balance when preparing for potential challenges without triggering fear-based paralysis. And because I have emotional regulation, when people come on my live and say things that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about or attempt to disrupt it, I make an assessment. I look to see what's happening currently. I have a comment that is under review, so I'm sure it's some nonsense. And I was about to look at it, and I said, no, I'm going to get to a stopping point and then see it and know that it was some piffleness for sure. So the key brain circuits are the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, and the ACC loops. And this circuit is essential for learning from past experiences, which takes place in the hippocampus, adjusting plans in real time, which is the ACC, also using cognitive flexibility, and then holding a strategy and executing it is happening in the prefrontal cortex, because that's where working memory is, and that's what you're working on in that moment at that time. There's also a bonus, and so the bonus is the cerebellum, And the function is timing, precision, fine-tuning of plans. So while often associated with movement, the cerebellum also contributes to mental sequencing, crucial for ensuring that preparation unfolds step by step in the correct order. We've talked about that before when we were talking about tasks like washing dishes and going up flights of stairs, making sure that you put this foot in front of this foot, making sure you're going up and not down. And so it helps with that sequence of movements. So again, to review, the brain regions that you use for preparedness are your prefrontal cortex, your anterior cingulate cortex, your hippocampus, your insula, your basal ganglia, your amygdala, and the bonus is your cerebellum. So my question to you today is, do you prepare for everything? Yes or no? Do you prepare for every everything? Now, what's interesting, and I'm sure this person is gone, but their username is Let's Fix America. And then they proceeded to say something that I'm not about to repeat. It's not vulgar, but it's neurologically inept, is what I will say. So I find it interesting that people in 2025 are still having this inhibition effect. And that means that I don't like my current life. So I'm going to come online and I'm going to portray and be somebody else. But I'm such a coward that I'm not going to use my real name. I'm not going to use a photo. And then I, because of my cowardness, are actually sometimes you wing it. Thank you for that, Kevin and Nola. And so that this is a perfect example. Let's Fix America. If you're still on here, that I'd like to use you as a great example and as a teaching moment. So everybody has 86 billion neurons or more. Some research says it's up to 100 million, but we're sitting somewhere between 86 billion and 100 million, depending on whose research you look at. And the problem is, it's a atrophied brain that decides, I'm going to do everything I can not to assess my current life. I'm going to go without instead of within. And that's unfortunate because Let's Fix America, your parents got together or your siblings got together to have you, depending on where you live. I know it was a little bit shade, but okay. Anyway, two people came together and you are here and you're an adult because my lives are not for children. And you decided that whoever that your name that's on your original birth certificate isn't good enough and you aren't good enough. And so you have decided that you need to have a nom de plume and you're going to be someone else and then go and do something negative. And your brain is wired for negativity bias. And so that is what you're feeding every day, manufactured dopamine. And we talked about that. And you're not prepared for life. And so because your parents or whomever raised you didn't prepare you for life, you are afraid and you're not prepared for day-to-day life. So you've chosen to have this alter ego that you're going to perpetuate online and go and harm other people because of your daily existence. And you don't have to do that, Let's Fix America. If you're still here, you don't have to call me names and you don't even know who I am because hurt people hurt people. You could actually stay and you could actually use those 86 billion neurons to have the kahunas, the nutsack, the balls to actually be yourself with your own picture, with your own name. And instead of saying something that you believe will offend me because it won't, because you're neurologically inept to try to come for me, it's not going to work. You definitely don't want to get into a name calling battle with me because I will have your offsprings crying. So let's not do that. But you chose violence this morning. You chose a path that wasn't going to bode well for you. And I'm leaving it here so that in the event that you show back up again, I will remember. I got your little profile fake photo in here. And I'm saying, you got 86 billion neurons. Why you choose that this morning? You were not prepared for this. I'm going to just go and say this, ha, ha, ha. And so you needed a quick bump, a quick fix of dopamine. But I'm over here to tell you, you could create natural dopamine. You could prepare every day for your life. You could actually be your real self online, independent of your parents who gave birth to you. And obviously, they didn't do a good job because you can't be the real you. So there's some shame associated with whatever your day-to-day existence is. And I got empathy for that. So I'm telling you, I'm giving you some good advice. Okay, Stop doing this. Stop doing quick fixes for dopamine and go ahead and do it naturally. Come back and actually learn how to use your brain so you can stop being an asshole. That's what you could do. Because I'm sure that's what people call you to your face and behind your back. So stop doing that. Okay? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I digress. But Kevin, you have said no, you said yes. And Kevin, you said no. Sometimes I wing it. And my question to you is, Kevin, what makes you wing it versus not wing it? And if you're thinking, go ahead and remember to type the ellipse. And for the people who are doing drive-bys, do you prepare every time that you do something? For the new looky-loos, do you prepare every time? Because remember I said, always have a why and don't do anything without a strategy. So I am prepared for my live. And Nola's about to say something as well. And for those of you thinking, why did I call that person an asshole? Because they started it. They called me a name first. Don't start none, won't be none. 2%. Didi from the D is still going to represent. You said, Nola said, I said yes because now I do make strategies for everything and do research ahead of time. Yes, ma'am. And that was not your natural go-to. That was not in your basal ganglia and your hippocampus as I mentioned before. So the reason why, and I'm getting ready to get into that, so that's the segue, is the top 3 neuroscience reasons why people avoid being prepared. And I'm getting ready to tell you why that takes place for you. So tune in if this is something that you find yourself doing repeatedly. So it is the avoidance of cognitive load. So you have dorsolateral prefrontal cortex fatigue. And so why this matters is that preparation requires sustained focus, planning, mental stimulation, and working memory. All heavy cognitive tasks, and they depend on the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So here's the issue. For many, especially those with undertrained executive functions, the brain avoids energy intensive tasks. And so the dorsolateral, are my comments coming in delayed again today? So Kevin, the comment that I see from you is, I wing it when I want to challenge myself. There we go. There we go. I wing it sometimes when I want to challenge myself. So now I see it. Yes, we're good to go. I got you, sir. I see it now. So you wing it when you want to challenge yourself. Roger that. Thank you. For many, especially those with undertrained executive functions, the brain avoids energy intensive tasks. And so the dorsolateral fatigues quickly if it's not exercised regularly. So the brain defaults to easier low effort behaviors, for example, procrastination and distraction. So the real leader insight is this: untrained brains avoid mental weightlifting. So when you are not prepared, it is because you have a weak prefrontal cortex and a strong amygdala. And that's what's happening. And so if you are over the age of 35, I say this multiple times a month, if you're over the age of 35, your working memory is starting to deteriorate. And by the age of 65, basically is unemployed or retired, however you want to look at that. No coincidence that at 65, you retire here in America, in theory, 65, 67. So your brain is not strong enough to prepare. And so you find yourself in situations all the time being unprepared because you haven't done the work to strengthen it on the daily basis in order for you to prepare. So it's which one came first, the chicken or the egg? So you are putting yourself in precarious situations because of that manufactured dopamine that we talked about, and you're looking for snacks and reactions and fun instead of actually short-term, long-term gratification. You're settling for immediate gratification, and that's why you can't think clearly, and that's why you can't prepare. And when you're not prepared, the thing that happens is it goes left and you go into credit and blame. If you didn't prepare and it worked out, you say, see, I'm a genius. I don't need to do that. And if it didn't work out, then you start blaming people. And then I had a captain, and I haven't said this story in a minute, when I was HHD commander in 787th and P Battalion, Alpha Company commander was, anyway, he would always say, if you wait to the last minute, it only takes a minute. And that's why we called them 8 Up Alpha, ATFU, because they were tore up from the flow up. All of them. Drill sergeant, I never seen brigadier drill sergeants that bad in the company ever under his leadership. It was terrible. So he was always late, running just disheveled, uniform terrible. At that time, we still shined our boots. Horrible. Hat crumpled up. It was a mess. And so they were always not prepared. Late coming to the meetings, late turning things in, late showing up to the arms room, late turning in their equipment from bivouacs, just a mess. And he thought it was funny. And now I know it's because he's neurologically inept to have been a commander. He should have got relieved, but he didn't. Good old boys network in full effect. And so they let him stay, and he did a terrible job, but he was not prepared for that role. Now, number 2 is short-term dopamine bias, and this is your reward circuit hijack. So what happens is in the brain regions, the nucleus accumbens, the ventral tegmental area, and the orbital frontal cortex, that's where it takes place. And why does this matter? Because preparedness often doesn't deliver immediate rewards. If you are prepared, it might be 5 years from now. And so the brain prefers activities that give fast dopamine hits, like scrolling, snacking, and reacting. So it's not that those delayed gratifications are like preparing for something in advance. They don't want to do that. Snacking, scrolling, and reacting require nothing. You just get up, eat, scroll, ha ha ha. That's funny. That made me mad. And that's what your brain is accustomed to doing. So the reward system trains the brain to chase now over next. I like that. You are constantly, so Fix America, Fix It America, I think that's that person's name. Yeah, Let's Fix America. Let's Fix America decided that saying that what they said to me was boding well for them, but it wasn't, because they were looking for a quick dopamine boost, reacting to what I was saying, got their boost and moved on to the next person. So the reward system trains the brain to chase now over next. And preparation gets pushed aside in favor of feel-good distractions. I want to feel good. I had a bad day at work. Let me scroll through TikTok. I want to feel good. I'm going to watch a bunch of movies and eat a bunch of bonbons and sit my healthy ass on the couch. That's what I'm going to do, because I need to feel good until you feel bad. And then you try to feel good again. And it's a doom loop. So the real leader insight is this. The brain resists preparation when it's addicted to quick fixes. I'm going to say that again, and I'm about to make it a highlight. The brain resists preparation when it's addicted to quick fixes. Scrolling, snacking, and reacting. You are going to resist being prepared from your scrolling, snacking, and reacting. And number 3, the amygdala overdrive and future fear. The brain region is the amygdala. Why does this matter? Because to be prepared, you must face the unknown. But for many, thinking ahead triggers uncertainty. And we talked about that the other day, uncertainty bias. And this activates the amygdala's fear circuits. And this leads to worry, overwhelm, and even freezing. So the issue is, instead of leaning into preparation, the brain avoids it altogether to reduce the emotional discomfort tied to anticipating what might go wrong. So you're like, I don't even want to think about that. I'm not going to think about that. Nope, I don't even want to think about it. I'm going to deal with that when it shows up. I ain't got time to be thinking about that at all. Then it shows up, all hell breaks loose, and now you really can't think about it because cortisol is all through your prefrontal cortex, and now you make some dumbass decision that you're going to have to figure out how to get yourself out of, all because you had cognitive overload because you're too busy scrolling, snacking, and reacting, and now you don't have the mental faculties to handle even the bigger shit show that you caused because you didn't prepare. So the real leader insight is an unregulated amygdala turns preparation into panic. So right now, for those of you who are willing to participate, What is a time when you didn't prepare and that shit went left, 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 left? And I will start. When I didn't prepare to start going on lives today, I'm 673 in for 73 days. And for the first maybe 20 days, I wasn't really preparing totally. I wasn't prepared for trolls. I wasn't prepared for the interface and user interface that was happening on TikTok. And so it was not going well. I couldn't get reactions, responses, or nothing. People were doing all kind of things. I didn't know what to do because the people told me, the macro influencers told me, hey, yeah, just go live several times a day. But they have physical products. So you can go live if you showing people your physical product. But if you is the physical product, then that's a different type of live, and you actually need to have something to say. So that was interesting. For, like I said, about 20 days. And then I finally got it together. And here we are with a very prepared live session every single day. So that's mine. So go ahead, if you're answering the question, type ... a thinking brain, a thinking emoji, a brain, so that I know that the chat is still working for you, because we have been experiencing some technical difficulties with YouTube all week long. Well, last week, because today is Sunday. And if I need to switch out and go and look at my tablet to see, I can do that as well. Let me go check. All right, YouTube. Question again? Okay. Yes, the question is, will I ever leave you? The answer is no, 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 no. Okay, the question is, when have you not prepared and it turned into shit show palooza? You did not prepare and it went left. Left, 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 left. And if you are responding, your first marriage. Okay. Yeah. Waterpalooza for Dola. I thought you were going to say that. Yeah, she was putting some bidets on some toilets and ooh, it went left. But it was not her fault. It was the property manager's fault for not maintaining that valve on the back of the toilet. They did not replace it and it was rusted, and it went $10,000 worth of damage to that house from the property manager. So yeah, the owner of the home was not a happy camper, and neither was the art curator whose work got destroyed. So it was actually more than that, but to the home itself was $10,000 worth of damage. It was on the second level, went down to the bathroom, the garage, all downstairs, and the laundry room and everything. Little $10 little handle cost $10,000. All right. So what is Dr. Donna's number one action to take to be prepared and stay prepared? Here it is. Preparation lives in the prefrontal cortex, but it thrives through repetition. Real leaders don't just prepare once, they build a brain-based system that prepares them daily, every single day. And so why do a daily checklist? Because neural preparedness checklist activates the prefrontal cortex, and it strengthens the working memory and conditions the basal ganglia to meet preparation automatically. It reduces overwhelm and it helps regulate the amygdala by making uncertainty feel manageable through structure. So here are the 4 questions, and then I'm going to slide out the way so you can see the graphic as well, because it's in the left corner. And the checklist asks these questions. What am I responsible for today? What am I responsible for today? What's one potential challenge that I can plan for now? What conversation or decision needs clarity? Is my environment supporting focus and follow through? And have I reviewed what worked or didn't work yesterday? Let me slide out of the way. And those are the questions for you to answer yourself. What am I responsible for today? What's one potential challenge that I can plan for now? What conversations or decisions need clarity? Is my environment supporting focus and follow through? And have I reviewed what worked or didn't work yesterday? Give me one moment. And the reason why these questions are important is because if you don't know what worked, what didn't work, what you need to do, or anything else, you are going to end up in a bad first marriage. You could end up in Waterpalooza. You could be on lives for 600 and something days and not get better. And so, because I am a person to be the best is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, I wanted to be successful at lives. And so every day I was like, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this. Let me try this. Because I started out doing turnaround tactics, and here we are now doing morning mental workouts. So I kept going. I didn't allow the trolls and the unaccountable people and all of the nonsense and pilferness that was taking place. I didn't let that stop me, because the main thing is the main thing. And the main thing is the world, the adult population needs to understand this magnificent organ that they have in their body, the brain, and how it functions, so that the world can actually change and we can actually be in a better situation than we have been in the past. So that is the objective. And so preparing matters. And somewhere, I don't know, I'm 52, I don't know if people prepared and then they stopped being prepared prior to me being here, if they were never completely prepared. For me, it feels like people were never completely prepared for everything. I mean, everything, not just some things, because some people can prepare. And I think if it's a strength for you, then you're prepared for it. But I think if it's a growth opportunity for you, it's something you've never done, a generational curse, a defective character, then you don't prepare, because the amygdala is already reminding the hippocampus, hey, man, we suck at that. We can't read. We can't take a test. You know you bad at money. Don't be trying to count. You can't count to 100. How you going to have $1 million? Dumbass, that ain't going to work. So it shows up. That left amygdala is there to remind you of all the ain't shitness and all your failures and everything else that's taken place. And so it just keeps taking out bad shit out the hippocampus library and just throwing it at you and reminding you that you can't do it. So you find yourself somewhere in between. I prepare. Sometimes I prepare. Sometimes I'm not prepared. Fuck preparing throughout your day. So parts of your day you're ready for, parts of your day you're not prepared for, and that's no brainer. It really is. So the objective is to have a strong prefrontal cortex. So when these things that are out of your control show up, because you already have a strategy, you go back to the strategy and say, okay, at the end of the day, the stressor needs to be put together. At the end of the day, I need to complete my live. At the end of the day, I need to post on social media. At the end of the day, I need to stretch. So the main thing becomes the main thing. But if you don't have a plan for your day, and I've been accused of, oh, you need to be spontaneous and you need to be extemporaneous and you trying to plan too much. I am. And that's why my existence is different than the people that I grew up with, because I have a very calm, peaceful Wusa life, and they don't, because they didn't prepare for it. I was talking to Nola's client yesterday. She's having a new life experience after divorce, and she said, this isn't what I planned. This isn't what I prepared for. And I said, nothing about life is that way. You plan, and then things happen, and then you respond or react to it, and that's the case. I said, you left a toxic marriage. Kudos to you. So what if you had to downsize your living? You are at peace now. So this whole notion, and I told her about my friend that had their house renovated, this $200,000 kitchen, and she keep talking about, but she keep getting knocked upside her head, got bruises all over the place inside of her $200,000 kitchen. So you got to make a choice. Do you want to just be somewhere in a studio apartment with a hot plate and at peace, or do you want to keep getting the shit slapped out of you while you in this doggone kitchen that y'all remodeled? So you got to make a choice. And you don't plan it. Kevin, your first marriage didn't go well. My first marriage didn't go well. The only marriage I had, and then I realized I don't want to be a wife. I'm good. Y'all can have that. I'm going to go do something else. And so you do have a plan, and you do have a strategy. And I will quote myself, you have the right to turn a previous yes into a current no, and you have the right to turn a previous no into a current yes. Both of those are your rights to do. So you had a strategy, you had a plan, and you realize that you needed to call an audible. That's okay too, but you can't not prepare. Shit goes left, and then you blame everybody else for the rest of your life. Fix It America is waking up every day doing that, and that's no brainer. You got to fix you first, because it fixes a lot. And as I was explaining to her yesterday, I said, life is about experiences. And if you miss this moment because you're in the past and in the present and not planning for the future, you're going to miss what you need now for your future. Video games have it all the time. You got to go and grab this knife that you're going to need later on. You got to get this sword and this water. I hear the children at appointments saying, hey, I'm over here standing by this bush. Somebody give me some power and all of that, because they didn't prepare. So you need to be prepared. I tell Nola we live in a desert, and no matter what, take water with you. When I was in the Army, I had MREs in my car with me, especially when I had to travel PCS and we're traveling back home 10, 12 hours in the car. I'm going to have everything I need, emergency preparedness, the car flares and all of that. Because back then I was on the road by myself, and at one point I didn't even have a cell phone. And if you're traveling from Michigan to Alabama through the Tennessee mountains and all of that, Kentucky, everywhere, you're going to need some type of ability to care for yourself in the event you could drive off a cliff and be stuck somewhere. So I was prepared back then. And so initially she's just like, we're not going any place for a long time. I'll take a half a bottle of water, and I'll tell her that you're taking a swallow of water. I'm like, it's 112 degrees outside. You don't know what can happen. You need a full bottle of water with you, and it needs to be cold water so that whatever takes place, you have water with you. And so that's my just coaching to her, just something simple, because it's hot outside. You don't think about that. I'm just go to the grocery store and come back. You don't know what's going to take place, and you always need water, especially with the brain being 75% water. So preparing to prepare for prepared's sake helps you to regulate your emotional center. So if you find yourself not being prepared, your amygdala is going to be hijacked. If you have a weak prefrontal cortex because all you're doing is snacking, scrolling, and reacting, this shit gonna keep going left, and you're gonna keep blaming everybody else. And that's why I don't talk to a lot of people right now, because people aren't willing to fix themselves first. They're not willing to say, I messed this up, I got to fix me first, and this is gonna fix a lot. Because what I find is interesting is that the more I talk about fixing you first, the number, because I can see it today, is dropping, because people woke up this morning and they were looking for a dopamine hit. And I don't have a quick fix. I don't have a supplement for you to prepare. You're going to have to go to the hippocampus bank of neurons and make a daily withdrawal and do the work your damn self. You are going to have to make those synaptic connections with those 86 billion neurons. That's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility. I'm here to say these are available to you and this is how you can access them. But you're the one who's going to have to put in the sweat equity, and you're the one who's going to have to prepare. So do you have any other questions for me before I move to the brain bit? Comments, questions, anything. Did something resonate with you? Go ahead and say it. If not, you can say I'm good, and we can move on to the brain bit for today. Kevin said none. Lola said clear. Nola, do you have no questions? Got it. Okay. So today's brain bit, I made this, I forgot what the thing called, when they say something on your story on Instagram and TikTok, and you can say something. And so the other day I made a post that said, stop cheating on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala. And so I thought that was funny. So yeah, I promise y'all, I love me some ChatGPT, because chat is the business, okay? And I know Microsoft got Copilot and X got Grok, but chat by far the originator of OpenAI. So I asked chat yesterday while I was talking to my child, I said, I'm gonna see what chat has to say about this, because we thought it was funny. And so I asked chat, I said, how do you cheat on your PFC with your amygdala, your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala? And here is what chat said. Chat said, cheating on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala is a powerful metaphor, especially in the context of real leadership and neuroscience-based self-regulation. And then chat said, let's break it down. And I said, well, let it be broke, chat. So the metaphor is explained. Cheating on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala. So your prefrontal cortex is your logical, accountable, forward-thinking partner. And let me just slide so y'all can see right here. Cheating on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala. Look at that. Adorable graphic. Okay. So yes, Think of the prefrontal cortex as the wise, long-term thinking part of your brain. It's responsible for planning, decision making, emotional regulation, goal setting, and personal accountability. This is your brain's real MVP, your real leader brain. Your real leader brain is the real MVP. Okay? Now, the amygdala, your reactive emotional side piece. Chat called the amygdala the doggone reactive emotional side piece. Savage. Okay. The amygdala is fast, emotional, and focused on survival. It deals in fear, anger, impulses, threat detection, and instant gratification. Sound like a side piece to me. And it's not trying to build your legacy, tearing you down. It's trying to keep you comfortable and safe in the moment. That's what it's doing. Like, no, we don't need to do all that. Come on over here. Chill out. Let's watch some TikTok videos. Netflix and chill, boo-boo. Come on now. Let's have some fun. So the amygdala is your reactive emotional side piece. So what does cheating look like neurologically? I'm glad you asked, Nola. When you cheat on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala, you are prioritizing emotional reactivity over thoughtful leadership. So I got some examples for you, Lola, because I think you want to know. Real life scenarios. Someone gives you feedback. The prefrontal cortex response is, I'm going to reflect calmly and I'm going to ask questions. But no, not that cheating amygdala. The amygdala is going to get defensive and it's going to lash out. You talking about? How you going to say something like that to me? But the prefrontal cortex is going to say, really? Well, when am I doing that? What can I do to improve? Thank you for that. How's about let's sit down and make a strategy for that so I can present a better product. I can present better customer service. I could be a better parent, better person. It's asking questions. How should I resolve this? But the amygdala is like, nope. And well, let me tell you about you. And let me last time. So you think you're so great and wonderful. You ain't shit either. That's what happens. Next is another example. You need to prepare for a goal. And so here, prepare for a goal. So the prefrontal cortex plans, prioritize, and stays disciplined. No. Not the side piece. Procrastinates and makes excuses. And we know that do it now, because procrastination is the enemy, is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So you know you need to prepare for a goal. And the prefrontal cortex is ready, and the amygdala is like, it's time to scroll and snack and react. Time to scroll, snack, and react. We're not doing that. Next, you feel overwhelmed. And so the prefrontal cortex breaks it into small tasks and then takes action. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. Not that side piece amygdala. Nope. It panics, avoids, and spirals out of control. You are overwhelmed, and the last thing I can't do is see this is wrong. It's too much. It's too much. I just need something else. I'm just go take a break. I'm gonna snack, react, and scroll. And then finally, you're triggered in a conversation. This happened to Nola 2 days ago. The prefrontal cortex uses empathy and boundaries. But no, not the amygdala. It shuts down, it yells, and it blames. So anytime you have found yourself shutting down, yelling, and blaming, the side piece then took over your whole thing. And your long-term partner, the prefrontal cortex, is over there like, here we go again with this heifer. Lala and Amy got two side pieces. So the brain-based translation is this. Cheating equals ignoring the neural pathways of the prefrontal cortex. And with your amygdala, it equals letting the emotional brain hijack your behavior. So the result is you make decisions that feel good short term, but damage your credibility, your leadership, and your long-term success. And ain't that just like a side piece coming and blowing up your spot and messing up everything that you got? So what can you do? I'm glad you asked, Kevin. You can rewire it instead. Make the PFC your brain's ride or die. Chat said that. I thought that was hilarious. So you're going to make your prefrontal cortex your brain's ride or die. So to stop cheating, you're going to pause before reacting. This gives your prefrontal cortex time to re-engage. And I call that on my paper. I'm still working on it. 10 significant seconds. 10 significant seconds. You're just going to stop and really think about what you're about to do. 10 significant seconds. And then you're going to practice self-awareness. What am I feeling and what's the real issue? What am I feeling and what's the real issue? You're going to check in with the insula. What's going on? Insula, how's the body? Am I tense? Is my heart beating? Do I feel like I'm about to pop off? Am I enraged? Or can I just calm myself down? And then you're going to rehearse forward focused language. What's the solution? What's the solution? And then you're going to train emotional regulation like a muscle. Hence me listening to Tibetan music from now until Lord knows when. So again, you're going to rewire it instead, make the prefrontal cortex your brain's ride or die. So to stop cheating, you're going to pause before reacting. And this gives your prefrontal cortex time to re-engage. That's that 10 significant seconds. I'm going to practice self-awareness. What am I feeling? What's the real issue? And we know over here is what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And what am I going to do about it? And that's how you rehearse the forward focused language. And then you're going to train emotional regulation like it's a muscle. So that's what the deep breathing is about. That's what strengthening the prefrontal cortex is about. So you can get rid of your side piece. And then the Dr. Donna quote is this: cheating on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala might feel good in the moment, but it bankrupts your brain's long-term leadership account. Cheating on your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala might feel good in the moment, but it bankrupts your brain's long-term leadership account. So in summary, when you make your amygdala your side piece and you cheat on your prefrontal cortex, you end up losing. You end up having to recover because you're seeking immediate gratification. You are scrolling, snacking, and reacting, and you are avoiding being prepared. You are avoiding strengthening your prefrontal cortex, and that side piece is going to blow up your spot. So what questions or comments do you have about the amygdala being your side piece and you cheating on your prefrontal cortex? Do you have a comment regarding it? Did you ever think of it in that capacity? Or was it just me? Like, this is good. These metaphors, these brain metaphors are getting juicy. So I'm the only one that clutched my real leader pearls. Whew. Never thought of it that way. Never thought of it that way. Let me slide on out the way again so you can see. Look how sad the prefrontal cortex is. Just sad. So make your prefrontal cortex your ride or die. Ride or die. Okay. So the questions that are on the table for you all today are: what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what brain conversations did you have with your people yesterday? And remember, thinking, brain or a thinking emoji. So that I know I'm back in YouTube now, so I can see both. And I realized that how the chat works if you're on your thing is that you should still be able to see it on my tablet because they're not connected. But on this screen, they are on my phone. So what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what was your brain combo yesterday? Okay, I wasn't live. I was further back. Kevin said, learned winging it won't lead you to best. It will not. It will not. It'll get it done. It might even get you to 70%, but it definitely will not get you to your best. And if you have to do something in the moment, that's different than actually having time to prepare. If you have time to prepare, prepare. But there have been times when I was the president of Toastmasters Club here in Las Vegas and Lunchtime Talkers, sometimes people wouldn't show up for their speech and then they would need somebody to give a speech. And so then I would go up and give a speech. Now, a 5 to 7 minute speech ain't shit to me. So I could talk for 5 to 7 minutes in a succinct, logical manner. So that's nothing. But if I have time to prepare, my prepared speeches were much better than my promptu speeches that I'm just doing so somebody can do speech evaluation. So it is never your best. Nola said, I learned about myself. I think prepare before do. Yes, because there were many times when I would have to say, Nola, don't do anything without a strategy. What was your strategy? Because the beautiful thing about having a strategy is that you can assess it. Because to your point, Kevin, how can you get to your best if you don't know what the strategy was? If you're executing the strategy, now you have the ability to go back and make adjustments to the strategy, the preparedness. But if you don't, you can't, and things went left, you don't know what part went left. You don't know what part went right. And if you are successful at it, then you just think, oh, I'm good. That was a win for me. But you don't even know what you did in order for it to be a win. So that's why it's preparing. But again, people can't prepare. So if you're somewhere and someone isn't prepared, know that they have a weak prefrontal cortex. Their amygdala is their side piece, and they were scrolling, snacking, and reacting instead of preparing. And that's why you are at somebody's house for dinner and it's late or it's burnt or it's nasty or somebody's supposed to pick you up or show up or do something, business meeting, whatever it is, and they're not there because of a lack of preparedness, because of an overloaded dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So that's what you can begin to assess neurologically. And that's why yesterday with Nola's client, I was just talking to her about the brain. Prior to that, I would be talking about people, relationships, and choices. And I went straight in neurologically. This is what's taking place for you. And this is how you're going to have to resolve what's taking place for you currently neurologically. Because you could say, stop crying. That's not going to help. Do a brain dump, and then you will stop crying. And every time you feel overwhelmed, do a brain dump. And now you're going to be able to think clearly because cortisol will be gone. It's okay to cry. That's why everybody has tear ducts. Nola, I learned that the reward center is always thinking now. Yep, now, not next. Give it to me now. Give it to me now. I want it now. I want it now. That's how you end up in $90,000 of credit card debt because you want it now. Buy it now, pay for it later with 19% interest. That's what's taking place. That's how come I ended up with almost $19,000 of credit card debt because my ex-husband wanted it now. I want it now. I want these gators now. I want this watch now. I want it all now. And you, Donna Thomas-Rodgers, is going to pay for it later. A side piece will fall in the unaccountable person category. Yes, that is correct. Because a side piece is always looking for a good time, trying to derail you from your actual purpose. Give it to me now. Give it to me now. Oh, I see you trying to be a side piece. I'm not hiring right now. Side pieces or primaries. Ride or dies either. Those positions are filled and one of them is obsolete. So no, I'm side piece free. That is correct. And then your brain conversation yesterday. And I just said what my brain conversation was. And I had the conversation to go to the hippocampus bank of neurons. And the person was looking at me like I was crazy, and that's okay. That's okay. So y'all type in your brain conversation because I don't see no dots. All right, Lola, learn what not to do. Stop looking for short-term relief like snacking. I know it's probably sound like smacking, but snacking, scrolling, and reacting. Stop trying to just feel good. It's an addiction. That's short-term relief. Don't let your side piece. Brain conversation from Kevin was given to me by Dr. Donna yesterday. I didn't give it to anyone. You talking about my second live on TikTok, Kevin, or the brain conversation from the morning live, or the behind the scenes on TikTok Messenger? Yeah. So yesterday, I started doing TikTok lives again, and I'm going to do they call it what is it called? I never did a challenge before, so it's the new chapter challenge, and it's from September 1st to November 25th, and you got to do 60 behind the scenes. Yes, sir, got it. You have to do 60 or 65 different things in order to get something. I think you get in the pot. I don't even think you get something for it. I think you get in the pot to be able to get something. But I've never done it before. I challenged Kevin to challenge himself, and then I said, "Oh, you over here sitting in your little comfort cocoon, so you're gonna go do something you ain't never done before. You gotta lead by example." So I'm going to do this challenge because I don't participate in TikTok in that way, but I'm going to do it because a future person might want to do it, and I need to say, well, here's the best way to get it done. Not half-assing it, trying to hurry up and get a bunch of shit from other people, but how can you do it from a growth perspective? So as long as it takes me either until November 25th or until I get to these 60 to 65 different things that you have to do, I will be participating in that. And so yesterday I was on live eating a bowl of oatmeal, which is something that I would never do. My mother told us, don't walk down the street eating food. Don't lean in no man's car outside. You look like a hoe. So there's a couple things that she said don't do. And that's why I may have like a almond or something, but I'm not going to sit here and consume a whole meal. So I ate almost all my oatmeal besides one spoonful of it while presenting brain information and trying to get all the things. So telling people share the live, give me a rose, and people need to follow because there is this checklist, all things that make me extremely uncomfortable because of the way the unaccountable people present it. So it kind of feels like, like slimy, grimy, used car salesperson, but there has to be some benefit. So the conversation that I had with Nola, and I see your response, Nola, yesterday, I'll get to in one moment. So the conversation that I had with Nola is this: there isn't anybody else out there teaching adults how to use their brain. And I didn't even want to be in front of the camera. It took me to I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do any of this. And then I'm like, well, who else is? And so the way I see this is there has to be the other side. So if everybody has negativity bias, everybody is out here with hijacked amygdalas, everybody is addicted to manufactured dopamine, what is the alternative? So when I was at advanced camp, and I told this story before, because I was a female, I couldn't go combat arms. Combat arms is armor, field artillery, and infantry, mechanized and light. I'm mechanized. They're like, you cannot be mechanized infantry. Stop saying that. You can't. You can't be mechanized. You can't be light infantry. Here are your other options. You can go combat support. Okay, fine. What is that? MPs or air defense artillery. I'm like, so y'all just sit in the room and push buttons and Patriots and Scud? Yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing it. Okay, what's up with the MPs? So the MPs was as close as I could get to the battlefield at that time. I'm going in, I'm going to die for my country. So I became an MP because those were the options that were available to me. But imagine if the only thing that was available was combat arms or combat service support. So now I got to go be quartermaster, beans, bullets, and blankets, or I got to be AG, and that's all administrative, or I got to be ordnance, and that's just putting fuel in vehicles and that truck drivers and stuff. So no. So I decided yesterday that I need to present the other side. There actually needs to be another option. So think about you, Lola. Imagine if I didn't decide to go live after TikTok was over. I said, forget it, I'm not going live anymore, and I'm done. Then you don't get to be where you are today. Kevin, you don't get to have your experiences. Nola, you don't get to have your experiences. So it's actually selfish of me to say, I'm not going to be in that system because the unaccountables fuck the system up. What's the right way to use that system? What is the correct way to have live streams? What's the correct way to encourage people to be a part of the thing that you're building? And I'm working through that because I looked at them, I was like, I ain't doing that shit. They look stupid as hell. But when Snapchat first started, people was throwing up rainbows and shit with lenses. And now I use Snapchat lenses all the time. So there has to be, the system in and of itself isn't tainted. It's the people that make it tainted. So I had to make peace with that yesterday, which is part of the reason why I did the live, because there will be people who want to know how to do it. And in everything that I've done, it was being done improperly or at 70%. What's the best way to get that done? What's the best way to have followers? What's the best way to interact with people virtually? And how do you get that done? That's what I've been working on and mastering. So I'm going to be in the TikTok challenge. As uncomfortable as it was making me, I'm going to complete it because I need to know, because I'm just watching it from the other side and saying I would never do that. But I need to go on the opposite side and say, well, how does that work? There's a reason why I have 10,000 followers on 2 different platforms, so I can see the functionality of that and tell people, this is how you can get to 10,000 followers, and then this is how you can use that system to your own benefit. So yes, I will be participating in TikTok challenges, and whatever road that takes me down, I will go down that road unwillingly, kicking and screaming like a toddler being pulled out of the toy section of Target. But I'm there because what is your other alternative? Where is your military, police, air defense, artillery option if I don't show up and present a different option? Then that becomes your only option. And now you just either have no option, I'm not participating, or I got to do it like them and keep creating these damn quick fix dopamine surges of hits of manufactured dopamine. So that's where we are. I'm leading by example. Can't tell Kevin to do something and then I'm not going to do it too, or at a higher level. Nola, you said, I was talking about people making decisions based upon what they see now versus using analysis and informations to make decisions and now being in bad situations. Yes, so they may hijack the amygdala decisions, and now the rent is due. The boomerang came back, and now the consequences for those decisions are showing up, and they got compounded interest on those doggone decisions. Yes, so Nola was speaking rationally and telling people what to do as far as their recruitment goes, and they did not listen to her, and now, yeah, yep, they're waking up to regrets, and the left and right amygdala are quiet as church mice, ain't saying shit. Lola, I learned what to do: pause, prepare, preparation, daily checklist, planning, discipline, and find solutions. Yes, ma'am. So that is all that I have for you today. Go off and do grand things. Have a brain conversation with somebody. It will be uncomfortable. They will not know what the hell you're talking about. You may say some words wrong, but that's okay, because you will get to the place where it will be something that you are accustomed to doing. Because in order to change human beings, we got to change the narrative. We got to change the conversation. So having a higher level conversation is going to challenge you. It's going to require them to go get some new neurons. You got to go get some new neurons so you can have a conversation. They need new neurons to be able to understand what the hell you're saying. And guess what you stop talking about? The scrolling, the snacking, and the reacting. You stop participating in that because that's a dopamine hit. And you don't want manufactured dopamine because it's synthetic and it's highly addictive and highly ineffective. Natural dopamine causes you to want to learn and grow and become your best. And the manufactured dopamine ain't nothing but the side piece, trying to stop you from everything extraordinary that you can do in your life. So you don't want to do that. So have these brain conversations. Let people look at you like you're crazy, or go dang, because at some point it's going to click and somebody's neurons are going to start firing and wiring, and they're going to say, dang, Kevin, you know what? Remember that day 6 months ago you was talking about the brain? Now I understand what you were saying. And so it is slow. It's not going to be immediate. People are not going to say, I knew it. See, I knew something was wrong. What you call that? Dopaminergic. Oh, okay. So it's called the dorsolateral what? The DSO, what is it? No, you 6 months out from people understanding what you're doing. But if you don't do it, you're going to have more and more years of not having it. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to start now implementing this so there could be this natural release of dopamine for them? Or do you want to continue to see them on your phone? Got to go come in contact with them. Like, I got to deal with this one. And you can't believe, did you see what they said? Look at this on the thing. Do you want that? Or do you want, so I was reading a book the other day, and here's what I found out. I watched Alexander on Netflix before I went no screen time, and I told Nola how good it was, and then she watched it. She's been a history buff the entire time, likes Greek mythology and all these other things. And so for her, she was connecting dots that she hadn't connected since she was in middle school. And then she was like, why? She's like, wow, he did all this other stuff, and all they ever talk about is these burning ships and pulling out the Excalibur, and that's it. But he had this whole life before that. It starts with him not being the king and then becoming the king and then taking over Persia and all of that. So she had this great hippocampus memory experience with all this other new information and understanding war. Now she's going to read The Art of War. And so it's amazing when you actually are engaged with somebody who actually has the use of their prefrontal cortex. It's a different neurological exchange, and you leave not being deflated and defeated, but actually empowered. And empower others is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So go and have those brain conversations. Even if you just tell somebody, you got 86 billion neurons, start low and just say, yeah, you can do anything. You got 86 billion neurons. Next time somebody calls you, I can't do a haircut, man, you got 86 billion neurons. Fuck you talking about? You can do this. You can do this and more. This ain't nothing. This is simple. That's like 18 synaptic connections. 2 neural pathways, you got that done. Tell them. You brush your teeth every day and you're using 8 brain regions. You blinking and using 10 brain regions. You got this. So if your brain can use that just to blink, imagine how much more powerful it is using all 86 billion neurons. That's how these conversations need to happen. But they need to happen because you need to challenge yourself. You can't just take this all in and then sit back and be like, see, and I'm going to use a money example to say this. So I'm giving you I gave all of y'all $86 billion. Say, here you go, 86 billion. And now you sitting over there spending your money saying, look at they broke asses, poor people over there. Why are they making such broke decisions? And you judging them, you self-righteous and everything, but you supposed to go and say, hey, you do realize you got 86 billion neurons and you ain't got to be broke. You ain't got to be making payment arrangements to the doggone energy company. This is how you can make sure that you're paying that every day, every month. Here you go. So that's what's happening. So you're doing them a disservice and yourself. So you over here benefiting like a mofo, and then you're not paying it forward. Well, I don't want to deal with that. Some people are financially illiterate. You got to sit them down and say 1 + 1 is 2. I had to sit down with Nola for 2 years and do Money Management Monday so she could get it and understand where all her money was and where it was going and file taxes and all of that. She didn't have it. That's not something we went over from 0 to 17, 18. So now she had to learn how to do all of that too. So when you say, this cognitive overload, I don't feel like dealing with them. They're going to hijack my amygdala and all of that. Okay, cool. So they don't deserve to know that they have it. It's one thing for you to tell them, and then they say, yeah, fuck that. I ain't doing that shit. But if you don't even be willing to know that the amygdala is responding, and the amygdala is saying, we scroll, snack, and react. The fuck is you talking about 6 months from now? I'm about to eat these bonbons and laugh at these TikTok videos, watch some football. Because they don't know. Negativity bias is the reason why they can't hear you. Cognitive dissonance, conformity bias, and all the isms, and a hijacked amygdala is why initially they can't hear you. But you just keep saying it, and keep saying it, and keep saying it, and eventually fire and wire, Hebb's law is going to take place, and it's going to click for them. Otherwise, it's not going to click for them, and it's wrong of you to not have the conversation because you know why they're behaving like that. You know exactly what's taking place for them. Hijacked amygdala and addicted to manufactured dopamine with negativity bias. That's why initially they can't hear you because of the cortisol. That's why. Y'all couldn't hear me. When I first started saying this, and Kevin just admitted it sounded like it was a cult. Like with white, you ain't doing nothing ain't nobody else doing. So if I sound crazy to y'all, you gonna sound crazy to them, but now I don't sound crazy to y'all. Because you got neural pathways to, you speak brain. I speak brain, you speak brain. And so now we understand that. So I understand it's going to be difficult for you to have those conversations. It was difficult for me to come out as a nerd. I was 51 before I did it. But imagine if I didn't. Where y'all at if Dr. Donna don't come out as a nerd last year? What does your life look like this now if I didn't do that back in October of last year? If I didn't start with the brain bit November 2nd of last year, where are you at? What would you be doing had you not come across me with a brain t-shirt on talking about neural pathways and everything else if I don't take my neuroscience class? So pay it forward because the world needs to be different. So you don't get to use your 86 billion neurons to your advantage and then go, look at these neurologically inept idiots. They're so stupid. No synaptic connections, not a neural pathway between the 3 of them. and you haven't had that conversation. Because even the trolls get a little bit of education before I block them and kick their asses out of my presence for, not listening. Okay, so with that being said, go have your brain conversations. Have it with somebody online if you don't come in contact with anybody physically, but you need to start having those brain conversations because you are benefiting and they are not. And that is not fair. And that is not the real leader way. It is to provide coaching and lead by example, and it is to empower others. And next time you have an argument with somebody, handle conflict when it occurs. You can say, we're about to use our brain to handle this conflict. So everybody go calm down, emotional regulation, and so let's go ahead and solve this, fix it forever. All right, with that being said, God willing, higher power in the universe, I'm going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a brain-tastic day. Take care.